Welcome to another episode of Signal 11 Outdoors. This week we're doing something a little bit different. I was actually a guest on a podcast back in September, and the host was the Dreaded Archer. It's the Dreaded Archer podcast. The host is Trey Reed, just an absolute great guy. He has a great podcast over on Carbon TV. So Trey does a podcast, and what he does is he shoots it in a video format, but it gets posted up as an audio only format on Carbon TV. So what I did is I asked Trey if I could possibly post his video on my channel, and he agreed to it. So it's a really good interview. I'm a guest. I like the interview. Both sides of the interview go well, and the interview can be has been on Carbon TV now for quite a few months. And I thought, why not throw this video up, because this will introduce people to Trey Reed, DeAndre Reed, the Dreaded Archer, who I think you should be following. If you're not already, get over there and give Trey a follow. Again, it's called the Dreaded Archer, and it's two different aspects. As far as the podcast, the way it is, he does the audio format right now. I guess he could switch to video, but the video is really good. So it's about a 2-hour podcast. So the interesting thing is I cover a lot of stuff about Signal 11 Lures, the business, that I don't normally talk about because I'm usually the host and not the guest. So we're throwing this up there thanks to Trey Reed, the Dreaded Archer, for allowing me to do this. We do start out talking about a little football, but that's real quick. We get through the football real quick, the high school football stuff we talk about, college, pro, and then we jump right into a full almost 2 hours talking about hunting. And you'll hear Trey's aspects on hunting, and he's been hunting a few less years than I, but he's a great host. He asks some great questions, and we have a great conversation, which is on Carbon TV, and now it's going to be on YouTube and Spotify, the video version of it. And please do me a favor, get over to Trey Reed's Facebook page. I believe he has an Instagram page as well, and he has the Carbon TV. It's called the Dreaded Archer. Give him a like. Let him know that you watch this video. And I think Trey has to be a video guy because his voice is great for audio only podcast, but he's a good visual too. He's a great dude, and I got to know him a little bit better now. So that's enough of me talking. You're going to hear me talking for another 2 hours if you watch this, and please comment on this one. I want to hear what you think because I really do talk a lot about the origins of Signal 11 lures and some of the different stuff that a lot of people are not going to know. We cover synthetics and naturals and how I got into it and all. So thank you for tuning in. Enjoy this. It's going to switch over now. It's going to look like the Dreaded Archer podcast because that's exactly what I'm showing you. The Dreaded Archer podcast with host Trey Reed, the Andre Reed, on Carbon TV. Thank you. Enjoy.
And welcome to another exciting episode of the Dreaded Archer podcast. I'm your host, Trey. And if you're watching the podcast right now, pick up your phone, go to your mobile app, and download the Carbon TV mobile app. That way you can take all your favorite hunting content with you wherever you go. And the best part about it is absolutely free. And plus, the app is compatible with iOS and Android. So head over to your app store and download the Carbon TV app. What is good, dreaded listeners? Hey, tonight we got a real special show. I don't know what's been in the air lately, but over the last couple weeks, man, I haven't had to go find guests. Guests have come to find me. So it's
Nice.
been super exciting, and I'm always interested in talking to new people, especially in the outdoor industry. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Mr. Steve Ciasullo. I got it right.
Sure. You sure did. Thank you. Great to get on here with you, Trey, and get to talk to you, man. And you definitely nailed my name. I appreciate that.
I try to because a lot of times I botch names up, and I was like, I'm not. I got to get better at that. It's one of those things where like in my profession, I'm always in and out of meetings talking to people, and one of the things like I'm bad with names. So like I'll meet somebody, and they'll say their name, but I'm always excited to say my name, and I forget to catch your name, and I was like, I get better at that. So that and
Well,
just pronounce the names right.
Trey, I learned this. A good trick is to say, "Hey, Trey, how you doing?" Like you say the person's name a few times right away in the beginning, and it's funny if you don't do that, you'll be a minute or two into a conversation, you'll be like, "Oh, damn, I forgot the name." It doesn't, and it's really no disrespect because you're probably like me. You're the kind of guy that you could probably see somebody a year later and go, "I know you. I remember meeting you." You know, I'm good with faces, but I'm
Yep.
pretty bad with names. So it's
Oh,
all good.
once we have a conversation, and I could it could be 2 years, and I could be walking in New Jersey, see you and be like, "Hey, Steve."
Yeah.
I would know then.
Well, if you're ever this way, you better make sure you let me know.
Are you in Jersey?
Yes, I'm in Jersey.
Oh, man. I gotta come to Jersey.
Yeah, you come out here and shoot a bear. We got a lot of bears we wanna get rid of.
Oh, I'm down with it. I've only been to Jersey once or twice. One of my college roommates, well, we lived in the same suite, and teammates, he lived in, I think, Bergen County.
Yeah, yeah.
He went to Bergen Catholic. So,
Okay. Yeah,
we
great football school.
oh, yeah, and we'd go, we'd drive up and what you call it, go and see his family, and man, we'd have a good time out there. His mom and grandma would cook a lot of food for us, and he was like, "Hey, this ain't no Olive Garden. This is like the real deal Holyfield." And man, it's I miss. I got. As a matter of fact, his name was Steve. I got to hit him up. It's been a minute since I've talked to him.
Do you remember what town he lived in?
Ooh, now that I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just figured in case it was on the top of your head, you might have remembered it. But no, Bergen Catholic, well, great football school. I did some coaching at, a really good local, Catholic school called Pope John High School in New Jersey. For a while, was way up there, not quite Bergen Catholic. We didn't play those schools when I was coaching, but now they actually do. They bought them into, to St. Joe's and Bergen Catholic and all, and there's some really good New Jersey has some great football competition.
Yeah, if you don't know about it, it kinda gets overlooked, but, like said, I played football with Steve, and he was like, "Man, like, we got some really good football up here," and we went to a couple games. I'm like, I don't know how New Jersey gets left out the conversation. I put it in top 5."
Yes, I agree 100%. I'm not saying I'm biased because 'cause I'm here, but, when I got into the coaching at that level, I learned a lot real quick, and New Jersey is definitely a top 5 school for, players and when I say players, I'm talking about players that make it to playing on Sundays. New
Mhm.
Jersey is definitely there. Don't no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I know they send a lot of guys, really all over the country, but especially, like, Penn State, USC, Boston College, UMass. I mean, it's they got talent there, and especially good linebackers and, O linemen.
Yeah.
That's what I see come out of New Jersey.
No, you're right. It's been interesting. I was lucky enough to, every kid on the team is an outstanding, student athlete at one level or another. But I ended up, coaching Noah Brown, who, I'm not sure if Noah's still playing. He was a receiver. He played for the Cowboys. I think he got picked up by the Cowboys first. I forgot where he went. But he's a kid that in high school, when, I'm coaching him and I'm watching him, I've never seen talent like that from me standing on the sidelines. And I was blown away by him. So the years I coached, actually 2 guys made the NFL. Ryan Izzo ended up becoming a tight end for the Patriots, and Noah Brown may still actually play today. I'm not sure if he does, but I got to see 2 kids at a high school level, make it all the way, so it was really cool.
Oh, yeah, you definitely know the talent when you see it. Like, you see a lot of kids play, but then, like, there comes those 1 or 2 kids where you're like, "Yeah, they got the juice."
Yes. I gotta
So, yeah.
tell you real quick, we're not in a football conversation, but I gotta tell you real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Um, the first gentleman I mentioned, you look him up, everybody will know who he is, and we were playing a pretty big school for the school size we were. I think we were playing Randolph or somebody like that, and, Noah was a standout athlete probably from before way before I know him. I think from what I hear, even, like, in the 7th, 8th grade, they knew this kid was something special. So now we're in high school. It was a game that he wasn't feeling good. I'll never forget it. The kid was just obviously incredible athlete, and, I'll never forget, as a coach on the sidelines there, I'm listening to the head coach and the OC and stuff, and we really needed to scratch out a touchdown, like, right now, and Noah was, and hopefully Noah, if he watches this, he doesn't get upset that I'm telling the story, because it's a really good Noah Brown story. I don't really tell anybody this, but, um, So Noah had been, he's double and triple team this kid. He's covered like crazy because he's the guy on the field, right? So he's sick and he's beat up, he's been hit, he's hurting. We're getting toward the end of the game, and I'll never forget. I won't go exactly a word for verbatim because I don't remember, but somebody's like, the head coach is like, put the ball up to Noah. And a couple of the other coaches like, coach, man, he's right now he's not good. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's like, no, screw it. This kid, he wants to get where he wants to get. This is the time he's got to show up. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I never saw a kid go up covered by three people. We're talking high school. He's a senior. He goes up higher than I've ever seen him even jump, and I've watched him for 2 years at this point. He goes up, brings down a ball, eludes three guys that are all over him. I don't even think they got a hand on his shirt, and he scores a touchdown. And he runs the sideline. I mean, the amount of green between the white line and his shoes was barely anything there. That kid literally flew. And watching this kid score, I'm like, wow, I may actually see this kid play on Sundays one day. And sure enough, he made it.
Oh
So it was
yeah,
very impressive. Love seeing that kind of heart.
and he's with the Washington Commanders now.
Is he? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Great, great, great kid, great human being, great person, great family. It was really my pleasure to even be anywhere near him and watching him perform. It was really awesome. They were running our school ran the spread back then, and he was perfect for it.
Oh yeah,
Perfect.
just air it out. Just give it to him.
Oh man, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
So
So
Trey, I didn't mean to take it away from you. Go, bud.
no, you good. Hey, this is we just two friends talking, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
But before we get started, let the dreaded listeners know who you are and what you do.
Okay. Again, my name's Steve Ciasullo. As Trey hit it right on the head when he pronounced it. I am the owner of a deer lure company. I'm in my 19th season. The company is called Signal 11 Lures. We can get into where I got that name from during this conversation. And basically, in a nutshell, I make for 19 years, I've been making scents, mostly deer scents, strictly urines and things like that. And over the 19 years, it has expanded quite a bit. So I got into it way back when I was bow hunting. I'm not sure. I might have been gun hunting this one particular year, and I was using this scent that everybody knows. We're going back 19 years, and everything was right. The wind was right. I was elevated. I was actually sitting I was sitting on the ground, but on an elevated position. I had scent down below where I worked my way in, and I watched a couple of bucks come in, and they were staying away from each other because if I remember correctly, it was probably late October, getting close to the rut, so they were staying away from each other, but they were both coming in, and at this point, I know they're not catching really the scent yet because of the way the wind is blowing. And I watched them get downwind. The first one got downwind of the scent and he wigged out. And okay, he was the smaller of the two. So now I understand a lot more about deer scents, deer habitat, the process of their thinking and how they react to things. So the smaller deer runs away, the smaller buck runs away. It's kind of almost a normal thing. But when the bigger one hit it, he darted too. Now they had a clear sight at where the scent was coming from, and there was nothing there to scare them. And I was elevated, so I watched this whole thing. And on that day, it's probably a little over 19 years ago. On that day, I said, "Wow, I got to come up with something because I bet you everybody is using this same scent." And when there's bullets or arrows and stuff flying over after them, after a while, that may start to spook them because they learn a little bit as they go. And so that's really what got me to start experimenting with um, making scent. It was a whole process, and I really did it as a hobby. I did it for myself, and I started testing all kinds of stuff out, and I started to find things that would attract the deer. And I started back in those days. I don't know how it is where you are, but we used to have to check the deer in at a check station. So I would I'd bring my buck in or whether it was, even if I was shooting some does and you bought them in, you got a metal tag back then put on there by the owner of the bow shop. And people would gather around the pickup truck, look in the bed of the truck, and they'd say, "Oh, nice deer, a nice buck." And then there'd always be a bottle or two laying in the corner. And they'd be like, "Oh, what is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's some stuff I made. It seems to work really good to keep them calm and all." And So I would hand out these bottles. There was no label on them. It was half
Yeah.
of the time it was a used bottle I cleaned out, you know. And so I started handing this stuff out, and over the first year, I had people actually asking me for it. Well, the problem was it was hard for me to make it exactly the same because I was just winging it every time. So within a very short period of time, I started writing down a formula. I fine-tuned it, and that's really how my business started back in '06. Was local people looking for something different, and then what it all comes down to is if something, is successful, helps people be successful, then you're gonna have repeat customers, and at the time, I didn't have customers because I wasn't selling it, and that's it. That's 2006. Now, I sell all over the country. I'm now partners on certain products with Ted Nugent. That all came about by Ted being a customer of mine for years. I do minimal advertising, grassroots. It was a slow crawl up, and I wasn't in a rush because I was a firefighter, professional firefighter for 26 years, so I had a job. And what I did is I built this thing up so that way when I could retire, I figured I'd give it a try for like a year or two. And sure enough, I retired a couple years ago and put a lot more effort into it. And it's a completely successful deer lure company known by a lot of people all over the United States.
Hey, I know, man. That was a whole lot right there, man. Hey, that's a whole lot. One, you said something that me and my brother, we talk about all the time. If everyone is using the same lure stuff, the deer gotta pick it up, and I've only been hunting like 5 years, that's it. So, I've starting to pick up over time to learn that deer, they associate scent, or they associate fear with scent. So, whatever scared them, whatever that smell was, that's what freaks them out. Well, a lot of people use, a lot of the same stuff, especially in, like, big box stores. So, it would only make sense to use something different that's not, that they normally wouldn't smell. And I also believe that's how deer know when it's rifle season, because
Yeah.
everybody goes out and sights in their rifle, puts the oil and gunpowder in the air. The deer get the, "Oh, yeah, it's that time of year, it's time to get ghost." So,
Yes, you're right.
yeah.
You're
So, what'd you say? Yeah.
no, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're right on. I mean, that's a great point you're making, especially with the gunpowder and the guys sighting the stuff in the day before, or
Yep.
yeah. So I'll tell you something that's interesting. And I don't know how many people noticed because nobody really ever asked me this. You didn't really ask me, but it's a good point to make. I still manufacture all of my product by hand. Okay, so I get stuff. I got all these different ingredients that I collect, and then everything gets mixed. And the difference between a small guy, and I can really only speak for myself. Well, I will tell you this: all of the small deer lure companies that are out there, there's quite a few, and some of them pop up and disappear after a while. Some might make it a year or two or five, and they're gone. But 99% of the time, if you're buying something from a big box store, and I'm not going to mention any names, we all know what's in these stores. I tell people this: the small deer lure companies are almost like a craft beer. Usually, if a guy wants to last in business, he's got to make something that works. So if he doesn't have anywheres near the right ingredients, well, he'll last for a year, and then people will never buy it again. But the opposite of that is the big box stores. The big box stores are, if there's a company that's selling in every, you pick the name of the store, if they're in stock in every one of those stores all across the United States, that means that there is no such thing as one deer, one bottle and being in big box stores. Absolutely impossible. Small deer lure companies, maybe. Not really necessary though. And I'll tell you why. We're lucky that deer are very curious animals. That helps us a lot. Um, but the big box stores have an issue. They need to collect the product. If they're actually using real deer urines, which not a lot of them do, they have to collect it in like April or May to get it bottled and to store by July or August so it could be on a shelf for September. Well, what does that mean? Number one, it's not fresh. Number two, it has to have preservatives in. It has to be loaded with preservatives because those big box stores do not empty their shelf off at the end of the year and return it or throw it out. What they do is they put it in the back and then it gets dusted off next September and gets put back on the shelf. So if it doesn't have a shelf life, it's not going to be in a big store. So yes, you could buy stuff from a big box store and you could definitely kill a monster buck. You could definitely be successful. There's no doubt about it. But the difference is when you go to a smaller company, a mom and pop company like myself or the others that are out there, you are 99% of the time getting a much better pure product that the owner has actually touched every bottle and probably smells the batches they're making like I do, and you're getting a better product. So that's a big difference between small companies and big box stores.
Definitely. And that's why I love working with, smaller mom and pop companies because of the TLC that goes into every single product. Like it's not just like for example, when I buy some Signal 11, I know you touched the bottle. You
Absolutely.
know, and if I have a
100%.
question about it, I'm sure if I call, it's gonna be you to pick up the phone or somebody in your family.
Yep, it's gonna be me. My cell phone is on the website.
Yeah, and so with other companies, I'm gonna call, get a robot, whatever. So there's not a lot of care that goes into it, and it's just I don't know. I think the industry is going to that. Well, not industry, but the consumers are going to that. The more the mom and pop guys are are getting a whole lot of love. I've seen that over the last couple of years, and it's because of the attention to detail, the customer service, and just the level of care that goes into the product.
Yes.
But I do got a question for you though. So you've been doing this for a while. Do you still, when you get like a fresh bottle, do you crack it open and smell it?
100%. So, when I'm bottling like, before I talk to you, I just and I have help, my family helps me out. I'm a small business. Um, Before I got on here with you, I had a podcast earlier this morning. I probably labeled between me and my family that helps me, we probably did about 400 bottles. Now, those bottles are that's just the last, like, 2 hours. Those bottles, every single label is put on the bottle by hand. I do not even use a labeling machine, and then they get boxed up, and they get sealed, and then when I'm ready to fill them, going back to what you just said about smelling it, I have my formulas that I make. I get ready to fill them. I use a small machine, real small machine, and every single bottle that gets filled is in my hand, gets put under this machine. It's automatically filling them. I got to keep moving. I slide them down to the next person who puts a lid on it. Everything's done by hand. Probably, in all honesty, every 4 or 5 bottles goes just like this: boom, boom, 3, 4, boom, boom. Now, my family thinks I'm crazy, but that is how I have always checked my product.
Yeah.
When I get my product back from a store after it's been on the shelf for a year, I take everything back. Everything gets thrown in the garbage, and I pull one bottle out of each store. It gets labeled and numbered. I put it on the shelf. When the things slow down, I have time. It's getting thrown out anyway, but I'll look at the name of the store, crack it open. I smell it, close it up, throw it out. About 10% to 15% of the deer lure that's non-preservatives will make it through a year, but I don't want my customers getting the 10% that are not good. So I take everything back. I tell everybody you got a 1 year shelf life. If you want something that's going to last 5 years, go to the big box store, buy that. It's loaded with either salt or sodium benzoate or some type of preservative. Yeah, you'll get a couple of years out of it, but you're never going to get the effectiveness of something that is made fresh and thrown out. I charge $11 for a bottle. I fill it, I put the label on it, I tighten the lid down, I mail it to you when you buy it. And if you're a store and you buy 50 or 100, or some stores buy 500 bottles, if there's 50 bottles left at the end of the year, I buy them all back. They don't pay for them. I throw them right in the garbage. And that part of my business plan, to be honest with you, has probably made me more successful than anything because if Trey buys a bottle, it's going to be fresh. And I make deer lure every single day throughout the entire hunting season. So it's constantly being made fresh. And you'll never get a bottle and open it up and go, Man, this is terrible. First of all, I don't think you would know what terrible deer lore smells like. I do. So yeah, I do smell it. I smell it all the time, Trey, and I can smell other I own everybody's product that's out there. I've smelled every one of them. I could almost give you the breakdown, not exactly, but I could tell you if it has 5 ingredients, I could tell you what the 2 most powerful ingredients are in there, plus the deer pee, because that's what a lot of guys do is they mix things.
So, do you not get nose blind to it? Like, after smelling it for so long, it's like, has your nose not like, "Ah, we already know this smell. It's the
Me,
same."
no. I smell it, and you know what? It smells like happiness because for me, I don't get to hunt as much as a guy that doesn't have a hunting business during the hunting season. So I am super happy from all the customers that reach out to me. I mean, I literally get Christmas cards from people I don't even know, because people reach out to me all year long with if you go on my Instagram, Signal 11 Lures, you could just scroll back through the years. I can't even tell you how many pictures are on there. And for every photo that's on there, there's 5 or 6 I never put up because I didn't have time. And there's 100 that never got sent to me. So there's no way you have repeat customers without advertising, unless the people are happy with what they're getting. So, no, my nose has never gotten the only time I ever had an issue with my nose is that when I got COVID
Mm.
and I lost my sense of smell. It was, uh, it was, um, it was after the season, and I panicked. I said, "Wait a minute. This is this is how I do what I do." Well, to be very honest with you, my scent came back actually better than ever. I know that sounds crazy, but my scent came back better than ever. So what I did before I actually wrote down some formulas, and I'm gonna tell you why I did and why it doesn't really matter. Before I did it, when I still had the loss of smell, what I did is I still had plenty of product. Season was over. So what I did is I said, "Let me see if I can put it together and smell my batches." Well, I couldn't, but what I realized is from 19 years of doing it by hand, when I add different things together to create my mix, my blend, it's eyesight, it's muscle memory. It was almost on the money because once my scent came back, those bottles that I bottled, I smelled them, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm still good." Now I have my formulas written down though.
Yeah. They
That's
but
true story.
but it's wild how, like, stuff like that happens, like, you do something so many times where it's just, I know a little bit of this, a little bit, it's kinda like when you cooking, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yes,
That's it right there. So
yes, 100%.
so do you use, like, authentic, deer urine, or is it synthetic? Or do you use mix of both?
Well, I do both, and I'll tell you why. My business got really, really big on my natural deer urine. So if somebody has a deer farm and they collect that natural deer urine, or if they buy natural deer urine and it's in a bottle and you use it at the right time of the year, you're definitely going to get an attraction from the deer. The deer are attracted to it. I mean, they're curious animals. But what I've always done from way back in that first story I told you when I came up with my first formulas, I was trying to use anything but deer urine because at the time it was hard to just go buy deer urine. I have to go to a store and buy the stuff from the big box stores. The local stores around me in driving distance, there was no small companies in those stores. It's just the way it was. People buy from a distributor. These store owners buy from a distributor. They order in January and February. They get it in May or June, and it goes on the shelf. So what I found is the number 11 in Signal 11 comes from a few different things. The first thing is I found 11 ingredients that individually helped attract deer. And then so that was 11 in the beginning. Then I sold my bottles for $11. So I said, okay, well, the most important part about the 11 was I'm a retired professional firefighter. And if we went to a fire, what we call a working fire, an actual job where you're actually going to work, putting out a house fire, or whatever, basically a structure fire. In my city, it was called a Signal 11. So to me, that was the biggest adrenaline rush I got as a professional firefighter was when you're in the truck rolling and you'd hear whether it's a captain or a chief on the scene would say, "Yeah, we got a Signal 11 at such and such address." Your adrenaline goes through the roof. So Signal 11 became the name of my company because of those 3 things. So yes, the natural deer lore question that you asked me and I didn't finish answering is my business started out with natural deer urines mixed with a couple of proprietary ingredients. That is what I based my business on for many years. Then in the state I'm in and some other states, they started to talk about CWD. They started to talk
Yeah.
about wanting to get away from baiting, wanting to get into synthetics. So what I did is I started to work with the idea of making a synthetic. And to be honest with you, the first couple tries weren't so great. But between the first couple tries and today, my wife and I ended up putting two kids through school as chemical engineers, graduates in the chemical engineering business with degrees. So since I paid their bill, I put them to work and we figured out a formula. We created a synthetic lure, which it probably got tweaked probably 3 or 4 years in a row. And what I did is I just sent it out to states, friends of mine that were buying deer lures in Ohio and Midwestern states where you do not need synthetic, Pennsylvania. I would give them a bottle of synthetic and I'd put an X on it. And I'd say, do me a favor, try this in front of one camera. And then at your next site, use your natural. And what I found out was people were successful. So the state of New Jersey made a decision to go synthetic. Well, Signal 11 Lures had already been making synthetic deer lures. So once our local state where I live went synthetic, basically my lures, because people were comfortable with the name, got into the hands of, I mean, we have 90 to 100,000 deer hunters in Jersey. My deer lure automatically went into all those stores as synthetic. And to be really honest with you, Trey, my business right now, I sell both, but I can't sell it in states that it's not legal, only out of my state and other states. My business is 90% synthetic sales and 10% natural. And when I tell you that, the interesting thing is the Midwestern states, the states like Pennsylvania, New York State, um, the states that do not need synthetic, I am selling it there 10 to 1 over the natural because
Wow.
it works. It's a little more stable. And the people who travel from state to state, a lot of these I deal with some professional hunters, or you don't have to be a professional. You might like to hunt in Texas and Ohio and New Jersey. Well, if you buy a bottle of natural deer lure and you use it in Texas and Ohio where it's legal, and I'm not sure if it's legal in Texas, but I think it is, and then you
Yeah.
come to New Jersey and Fish and Game checks you, and they go, "Well, Trey, how nice of you to visit our state. Well, you got a bottle of illegal deer lure there." And you're gonna be like, "You gotta be kidding me. It's not even full." So
Fine.
so the synthetics, I am a firm believer in the fact that whatever works and people are successful with, they're gonna use it. The synthetics today are not like they were 10 years ago. And I'm only speaking for myself. I'm sure the other stuff is good too, but my synthetics are killer, but I
Now
do
see,
still sell both.
I've been told that like in Texas, it's not really you can use the natural, the real urine, but it's not really, it's not good because it gets so hot here. It's like in early season, by the time you put it on the ground, it evaporates and it's now smell like ammonia. So a lot of people around here,
Yeah.
even if you can use the real stuff, they use a
Right.
synthetic because it holds the scent longer. Now I don't know if that's true, and I was going to ask you that question. Like, is that true?
Yes. It's true because basically what it is really any deer lure. If you put deer lure in a bottle and you put it in your pickup truck and you're in Texas and the truck's 110 degrees and you're not, you're going hunting after work. Yeah, you're basically cooking up bacteria. So what happens is when they collect deer urine. Now, if somebody has a farm, a deer farm, if they tell you to have a deer farm and they really do, or they're getting collected deer urines, the only way to really collect deer urine is they bring them into a barn, basically. They control the lighting to put some of the does into estrus. Um, all the deer end up peeing on the ground, which is either a stainless steel grate or concrete, and the urine goes through the ground, gets collected into barrels. They strain it, and they try to get it bottled up in usually gallon jugs or 5 gallon or 55-gallon drums. They try to get as much air out as they can, and they ship it out. Well, the problem there is the common denominator is that the deer have to pee on the ground to collect it. They're peeing into grates. What happens is you're collecting bacteria. There's no way around it. So when that deer pee, that natural deer pee is in your truck and it's 110 degrees, you're cooking up some bacteria in there and you start to create some funky smell in there. And yes, it will go bad quicker. It shouldn't really smell like ammonia. I mean, if it smells like ammonia, obviously it's garbage. You got to throw it out. But
Yeah.
the synthetic stuff, because we make it, because it's made by hand, it's man-made product. There's no peeing through the ground grates. The amount of bacteria that's in there is minimal, is minimal. So that gives us the stability of having something that will last longer because it has less bacteria to start with. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you, anybody watching this show, if you're a firm believer in natural deer lore and you're getting it and you're happy with it, stick with it. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if you're not 100% sure that the stuff you got, first of all, if you have stuff that's over a year old, it's either garbage that barely makes a year. It really makes about 6 months. It's either garbage or it's loaded with preservatives. So if that's the case, you might as well go to synthetic anyway, because you're already using something with preservative in it. So a natural deer does not pee with sodium benzoate in their pee. So give the synthetic a try, because if the writing's on the wall in your state, you might as well try it now. And for like $11, you get a bottle, you try it out with a camera. We all have an extra cell camera or an extra trail cam. Throw it up in a remote piece of woods, spray that shit all over a tree, go crazy, come back 3 days later, and I guarantee you there's deer on it. Guaranteed. This just to give you an idea that they're not running from it, they're coming to check it out.
Yeah.
So when your state goes to synthetic, and I hope they don't, because you should always have a choice. I believe that. But if they do go to synthetic, or you're going to travel to a state like New Jersey to hunt, and I think there's 13 states now that require it, you'll be able to buy a brand that you trust because you've tried it out. And I guarantee you're going to be surprised at today's synthetics, how good they are.
I'm down to try it because I'm still, like I said, I'm still fairly new to hunting, and I'm still learning about different strategies and techniques to use in the woods. Like I said in a podcast a couple weeks ago, I just now really learned what scrapes were for, like scrapes and like rubs and stuff. I was like, I didn't know what that was for. I just knew I was told, find a scrape, put a camera by it, or make a mock scrape, but I didn't really know what they were used for. And I'm still learning the science behind the deer's nose. I just know you can't beat it. So
Mm.
I know, like,
I
so synthetics and so this is just kind of just me being ignorant. I was like, well, there's no way the synthetic stuff can't work. You gotta use the real stuff 'cause that's what they're used to. But now listening to you saying, like, how the process of them getting the real stuff, it's yeah, you still use it, but I can see why, some people would have, say, like, it goes bad quicker and stuff like that. I understand that.
I think probably the most important thing I said there, because I know I could talk like crazy, I know. But the most important thing I probably said for the person who doesn't use synthetic is, there may come a day when the state that you love to hunt in
Yeah.
requires synthetic, because the fishing game, they make some pretty bad decisions sometimes. We all know that. Um, I'm not a believer that CWD is coming from deer pee in a 2-ounce bottle, because most of the, most of all the real deer farms out there that have to be concerned with CWD, they have such a redundant checking system on how they monitor these deer, and their herds are closed and all, that the chances of anything with CWD getting out of a legitimate deer farm, I'm not talking about some guy that has them on the side, or behind his barn, is slim to none. But the states don't base their stuff always on science. They base it on hearsay or whatever.
Yeah,
So
fair.
I would tell anybody, spend the money, buy a bottle of deer lore, synthetic. I would recommend mine. Obviously, I'm on a podcast with you, and I know how successful it is. Um, give it a try, because you're going to be shockingly surprised. That's really the most important thing, is the day may come. So everybody in New Jersey, we knew it was coming for like 3 years. It was, yeah, this year. Oh, the compendium would come out. We'd open it up. Wow, they didn't do it. They didn't do it. Then all of a sudden they did it. Well, we were okay. I had the product. I'm the biggest supplier in the state of New Jersey, Ohio, and parts of Pennsylvania. So I had the product. It's successful. We got it out there. People were happy. If you're a hunter in a state that allows natural, awesome. Keep using it, but try the synthetic just so you're ready for the change, if it happens.
So walk us through the process, like without giving up any of your your trade secrets, but walk us through the process of you creating your lures.
Well, basically, like I alluded to at the beginning, well, I grew up. I'll give you this as an example. This is it's not an example. This is an actual fact. When I was younger, we had where I grew up. We had a small farm. It was small, but we had agriculture. We had sheep, cows, pigs, bulls, chickens, roos. We lived off of our farm. And actually, our whole neighborhood did because I used to drive around my bicycle and have to deliver tomatoes and eggs to everybody who lived in the neighborhood because we had too many for just my house and my aunt and uncle's house. But my grandfather, who came over from Italy, he was trapping, and he was trapping back then for a couple of reasons. Back then, they got money for pelts. Now I think it's useless. I mean, there's no
Yeah,
money,
there's
and
no
they
money.
were also trapping. Go ahead.
I said, yeah, there's no money in it.
No money, and he was also trapping to protect the animals that were getting in there and busting up the eggs and going after the chickens. And I mean, we trapped everything. We trapped huge snapper turtles to raccoons. There wasn't many coyotes back then where my particular farm was, but he was trapping. So I learned how to make some of the sense that he was making. And we literally made our own traps too. My grandfather would make his own traps. Some of them completely out of wood and wire and crazy. But I was learning how to make tinctures and things like that, how to make scent, and that's kind of something that I never really thought about till years later when I got into trying to create my own. I went back to the little bit I had learned from him about scent making. So the whole process is it's complex. I mean, the simple scent companies out there will buy a product, which would be let's say natural deer urines. They'll buy it from a farm, they'll bottle it, they'll label it, they'll sell it to you. Is that a bad product? No, not really. It's not a bad product at all. If it's fresh and you use it in a timely fashion and you use it correctly, there's a lot of proper and improper ways of using scent. You very likely will see success. But for me, I created these other ingredients on my own that I put into my bottles. I have basically 5 different scents. I've had them for 19 years, the same 5. And so basically what I do is I mix batches. They sit for a certain amount of time. Then those products get mixed with natural deer urines in certain amounts, and I create a scent that maybe you might not even realize that anything else is in there, but there is. And like I said before, deer are curious animals. So if you spike their interest, if you pique their interest, they'll they'll come and investigate something. So I bottle everything I bottle, whether it's based on with if the base is natural deer urine with my additives, or if the base is synthetic deer urine with my additives. There's 2 different bottles, same name. One says 100% synthetic, and one is natural. Those bottles will both attract deer, and they both work very similar. If it's a buck scent, a dominant buck scent, it works like dominant buck scent works. If it's an estrus scent, it works like an estrus scent should work. So I created these ingredients that I mix in. I didn't, you can't, you don't patent something like that because when you patent it, you divulge all your information. So it's in my brain and it probably dies with me unless my son wants to take over the business. But that's it. I have my own ingredients, proprietary ingredients that I mix either with a synthetic deer urine that I make or a natural deer urine that gets collected, that gets bottled, and that gets put out to the public. And that's basically, in a nutshell, the process of coming up with a what I call a quality craft style deer urine. It's not just pee in a bottle. It's actually much more than that.
You see,
Hopefully that makes sense.
oh yeah, yeah, man, plenty of
Okay.
sense. I love that you call it like the craft beer style. I like that. That's
That's
because you're brewing it. You're brewing it in your
that's
garage, and it's like, hey, every bottle gonna smell the same, but hey, I'm wigging it.
Yeah, yeah. And Trey, something that I do that's kind of interesting, and this is something that I probably never said on to anybody, but what I do is I found that because I use I live by I make scent. I don't just make it and sell it to people. I use it every single time I go out. I have a scent that you could use all year long. It's called freezer filler. It's unbelievably good. It's a herd scent. You could use it during the rut. You could use it as a mild cover scent. Um, Definitely on wicks, scent wicks, everything. It's great stuff. but I use a scent every time I go out. So what I noticed is when I mix all these scents, I don't measure it to the I don't get precise with my measurements. I still make everything with my hands and my eyes and my nose. I mix it, check it, and needs a little more. It's like cooking when I make Sunday gravy. And that's not. I don't measure my ingredients. I throw them in. I taste it. Right. Well, I don't taste the deer pea. I smell it. So what I found out is that guys can buy 5 bottles and they're not all the same. They're to them, they're exactly the same. They're slightly different. And what I found over the years is I've never had a complaint. I've only seen positive results from that process. So why the hell would I change it? So my stuff is almost identical, but it is all slightly different. You might have a bottle from a month ago, and now you're going out to another state to hunt. So you buy another bottle from your store. Steve made them in my garage by hand at 2 different times, and they're both gonna work for you, and you'll actually be impressed at how something slightly different will pique the interest of a same buck. 2, 3 weeks later, use the other bottle, and all of a sudden that buck's coming in because he thinks it's a different deer. You're sending out a signal to them, and we could speak for hours on and I really the whole reason I started my own podcast was because I need to start doing how-tos because there is so much knowledge in my head now from not only my own experience, but I have thousands of customers that I talk to every year, and I learn from them, and I work with them and help them get that big ghost that they never got a daylight picture of. So I've learned a lot, and I'm able to help a lot of people. I wish I had more time to get out, but I'm successful. I get out and get a nice I get a nice couple bucks every year. In our state, it's crazy. You could shoot 6 bucks.
Holy smokes.
Yes,
See,
you
in
could.
in South Dakota, you get, so if you're doing archery, you can get a East River archery tag, a West River archery tag, and then you can get the whole state. So you can get 3 buck tags. Rifle, you get 1.
Mm,
That's it. You get
yeah,
1 and you done. Texas, you get 2 buck tags, 3 doe tags, and then, like, where I live, I can like, we're right on the border of Arkansas, so I can go over to Arkansas and hunt. In Arkansas, you get 3 buck tags, 3 does, 2 bucks, and 2 turkey tags with your deer license, so
yeah,
$6, man.
yeah.
Hey, I
Well,
gotta go to Jersey.
it's a moneymaker, obviously, for the state. I mean, our state is ass backwards with a lot of things, and I mean, I would say to get those 6 buck tags and your license, your all around sportsman's license, you're probably, boy, I might be off, but I bet you we're in for shit. We got to be in for 350 as an in-state resident by the time you buy. I think a buck tag is 24 bucks, and then you got to buy a zone tag. That's another. I think they're actually 22.50. So with your license, with your license you get an early season tag for a buck, and you get a late season tag for a buck, and you get 2 shotgun tags for a buck. The rest of them you buy individually. So some guys will burn their tag and shoot a buck no matter what because they feel like they paid for it. Other
Yeah.
guys will wait, and if they don't see, there's years I've shot nothing, but not often. When I say nothing, I'll always shoot those. But there's years I'll pass small bucks for the whole year because I got my eyes on a big one, and I
Mhm.
usually end up over hunting it and not getting them because I'm over hunting it. But that's just the way it goes. But yeah, we're in New Jersey. You could shoot 6. They're trying to make it 7.
So what is the hunting culture like in New Jersey? Because so I've lived in a couple of different places. So, like, in South Dakota, it's a lot of guys, they're waiting for, like, that big one. Like, they'll pass on, smaller bucks. Um, they're usually on public land, guys will, 3 to 4 3 or 4 years old is probably about as old as a deer gonna get on public land, if guys, people out there. Down in Texas, it's pretty much, if it's brown, it's down. Same as Arkansas, if it's brown, it's down. What's the hunting culture like in Jersey? Like, are guys, is the majority of guys
Jersey,
there on trophy bucks, or just kinda, I'm just trying to fill my cooler?
yeah, we have both. I mean, and I think the reason why it's a little, I guess it's a little easier to understand why we have both because when you get 6 bucks, so if you buy a buck tag, most of New Jersey was was unlimited antlerless deer. Okay. Um, Now, if you're in a zone that's not unlimited, if you buy a buck tag for most of those zones, you get 6 does and a buck, right? So the reason why you have both cultures here is because we have the genetics and the ability for really big deer. New Jersey has some real. I just did a podcast with a buddy. Guys are shooting 160s. Okay, not like they do in Ohio, where you get one buck tag. So in Ohio, it's different. In a state where you get one or two, you tend to let the smaller ones walk a little more because, especially if you're into archery, if you're a bow hunter, not just a gun hunter, it's totally different. Because as bow hunters, we like to get out there, enjoy the weather, enjoy the scenery, you know, hunt all over the place, and it's a little easier to pass deer up because it's September, it's October. You're still going to hunt in New Jersey. You hunt deer until February 14th, roughly. So we have both though. So we have the guys that'll just shoot brown. It's brown. It's down. Okay, that's their thing. They're out. They're shooting, whether it be drives or whatever. Then we have quite a few big buck hunters. Those guys work their ass off to locate big bucks, and usually nobody out here really has gigantic parcels of land. If you're hunting on a 150, 200 acre farm, okay, surrounded by public land and other people hunting and people running hitting them with cars, you're lucky if you have a piece that big. There's a lot of guys that are hunting on 10, 14 acres because they knock on a door and the guy says, you can hunt that patch of woods back there, but don't go in my crops. So nobody's hunting 500,000, 2,000 acres of land here. It's not happening. So you're not really growing deer and keeping them unless you have a really thick swamp or some kind of really thick area that you treat like a sanctuary.
Yeah.
You stay out of and you hunt around it. So that's the only way you're really going to hold deer. And then, of course, during the rut, the buck might travel 5 miles after he gets done with his core does. He might travel for miles, middle of the day, 12 in the afternoon. He's cruising. Look, and now's where scrapes come in. We could get into scrapes too, but now that buck is cruising, and you're like, shit, I had to work. I can't get out till 11 or 12. Man, 11 or 12 is the best time to be out there during a rut. No doubt about it. Especially when there's guys climbing in and out of their stands at 9 and 10,
Yeah.
moving deer around. But so I think that the culture in New Jersey is interesting. Here's the debate. People will say, if New Jersey would only go to 2 bucks, any weapon, we would have a lot bigger deer. Well, the truth of the matter is, yeah, we would probably shoot less deer, but there are a lot of these big buck hunters that don't even shoot two. They'll shoot one maybe every other year because they'll let that deer hit 4 years old, and you're lucky if it makes 4 years old in New Jersey, and then they'll go after it. So it's cool. I mean, I think I'm transitioning. I mean, I'm a guy that would go out and shoot, 20 does. I donate them to the firehouse, the Hunters for the Hungry program, my buddies at the firehouse. My family's good for eating 2 or 3 deer a year. I have plenty of small bucks. I mean, to be honest with you. But now I'm getting a little older, and it's not, I don't have the ability to go out there and shoot 20 deer a year and drag them out of the woods and do everything myself. We're inundated with bears here, inundated with bears. So you got to deal with that issue. So I'm at a point where I'm starting to look at, I like to get myself one good buck a year, even though I could shoot six. And funny thing is, the tag that I usually eat and turn into tag soup and I don't fill the most is during the rut because there's so much there's so much crazy action during the rut, and there's no rhyme or reason why these deer are moving that I tend to pass a lot more deer
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh man, I saw a real beauty, 150 yards away. I got the bow in my hand. Obviously, I'm not shooting it. So I'm like, then another one comes a little closer that's not quite as good as the one I saw. I'll hunt another day. I'll hunt another day. And all of a sudden, it's that tag is done. So I'm most successful late season because my business slows down and I can hunt late season more. I'm most successful early season, late season. A prime rut, I do get out a lot. That's the tag I usually throw out the most.
Man, I did not know Jersey was like that for deer. Cause like, when you hear people talk about, the mecca for deer, they always throw out Ohio, Iowa, Kansas, um, what would be another one? Not
Oh,
Missouri. What
Illinois, obviously
Yeah,
Illinois is a big one. Yeah.
Illinois.
Yep.
I think that's it. I don't know there's a 5th one.
Yeah, no, what you name there is probably the Mecca's the land of giants, if you wanna call it that.
Yeah,
Ohio is like a hidden secret. People don't the Midwesterners don't call Ohio the Midwest, but Ohio technically is the Midwest.
right.
And, unbelievable. I mean, I've hunted Ohio you know how many deer I killed in Ohio? None. Have I ever had deer in front of me that I should have killed? Absolutely.
Yeah,
What happens to me when I'm in Ohio versus New Jersey, so I'm in Ohio usually with an outfitter where, a lot of times you're limited. You can't shoot anything under a 135, you know, um, or they'll give you an age structure. So what happens to me in Ohio, this is what has happened to me personally. I've had deer in bow range that I could have killed that I didn't shoot because I actually thought they were smaller than they really were, because the bodies on those Midwestern agriculture, those bean eating bucks are big. Those are big bodies. So the racks are big, but the bodies are much bigger than a New Jersey deer. A 3.5-year-old New Jersey deer looks like a 3.5-year-old deer to me because that's all I'm used to. But a
yeah.
3.5-year-old Ohio deer, to me, the body looks massive. So the rack looks smaller. And I don't want to be the guy getting penalized. So I've every time I've gone to Ohio, never come back with a buck because and I've gone to the outfitter afterwards and he'll say, "Hold on, the trail cam pictures are gonna come in at 11." And he'll go, "Damn, that's what was in front of you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, you should have shot that. That's big enough to shoot." I'm like, "Damn it." So I actually got frustrated from that, to be honest with you. So I gotta travel more.
You know, that happened to my little brother the first time he came to South Dakota to hunt, because like, opening day, my dad, he put down a monster. I think he ended up scoring, like, 182, 183.
Ooh,
Monster.
nice.
We caught on Captain Hook.
Yeah.
Well, my brother this is their first trip to South Dakota. My brother's like, "Well, I gotta outdo pops. I can't just shoot a doe or a little dink." I said, "Alright, man, whatever." So, one he's one of those guys where if he ain't seeing deer in the spot within an hour or 2, he wants to move. He
Mhm.
keeps calling me, "Dude, there's no deer over here. There's no deer over here." I'm like, "Dude, stay in that spot. It's the rut, man. They cruising, and I think it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock. No, dude, I'm getting out. I'm getting out." So, he gets out the blind, and he calls, so I get out my tree stand and go help him move the ground blind. As we're moving the ground blind, here comes this nice 10 point, just walks right up the creek as we're moving, and I look at the deer, and, he looks at me, and the deer just runs off, and I'm like, "Dude, I told you, man, it's the rut. They're just cruising right now." Well, we finally get them set up, and there was this deer that what do we call him? Oh, Lancelot, because his antlers they look like swords. So, he sends a picture, I'm like, "Bro, that's Lancelot. You gotta like, he's a shooter." "No, he ain't big enough, man. Like, that rack ain't big." I'm like, "Bro, I've put real eyes on him. I know that he's big." But I hadn't seen him since, I wanna say, like, right probably, like, it was, like, early like, October. This is, like, late November. Well, these bucks in South Dakota, they get out in that corn and they bed down in those cornfields and they eat on that corn. Then they start cutting the silage and they start eating on the silage, and then they're eating all the soybeans and stuff. So I mean, he put on probably a good 50, 60 pounds easy. So I'm like, whatever he passes on him. Well, the neighbor ended up getting him the next morning, and we went over to look at it, and he goes, "That's the deer that I was looking at." I'm like, "Yeah." But his body just made his rack look smaller than what he really was, and I'm like, "Dude, I told you, you shoulda got him, man." It's like, it's an optical illusion. His body was just he was just rutted up, just big, and,
Yeah.
he kicked himself in the butt. He was like, "I can't believe I let that deer pass." I'm like, "1, you being impatient because you let a really nice 10, we spooked a nice 10, and then not wanting to shoot a deer because you didn't think he was big enough." Like, it's crazy how big, like, especially in South Dakota, how big the deer get. Like you said, like, it's like I would say South Dakota's kinda right up there with Ohio when it comes to, like, out in the ag area. They get on
Yeah.
that corn, holy smokes.
Yeah. You're right. It's amazing, and I mean, they'll move from farm to farm if they have to, and, they got plenty of good stuff to eat to keep them healthy.
Yep.
New Jersey is a little different. I mean, where I live New Jersey, I mean, it's called the Garden State for a reason. there's a lot of farms in New Jersey. People don't realize there's a lot of farms. But what I noticed about like Ohio, it's about I mean, it seems like Pennsylvania has everything. Beautiful, gorgeous state, great
Mhm.
state. But Ohio, like Pennsylvania, to me, what I see of it, and I'm right near it. I see a lot of corn, lots and lots and lots of corn. But Ohio, there's such a diversity with like you'll be traveling on an Ohio road and you just see huge cornfields. I mean, as far as the eye can see. Then you'll be cruising. All of a sudden, you'll look bean fields as far as the eye can see, and I think that, and they're allowed to bait there. So if there's a reason to, you could supplement feed them,
Mhm.
whether it be in the winter or what. And I think that it just grows the deer because the climate is not much different in here. Where South Dakota is a little different climate. You go up
Oh,
towards Saskatchewan and all
Leonard is
different
rough.
climate. Those are tough animals. I mean, they're big bruisers. But yeah, I'd love to chat. I haven't been in South Dakota. I got to shout out Bruce Cole. He's the owner of Dakota Archery out there.
Yeah, I
He
know
carries
Bruce.
our product out there. Did you ever hear of Dakota Archery? Bruce Cole.
Yeah,
He's on
yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've shot there. It's right, because his shop is right next to the Eaton Center down in Yankton. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I know
I think
Bruce.
he's in Yankton.
Yep,
Yes.
South
Well,
Dakota.
I'm friends with Ted. Ted is friends with Bruce. So that's how I got connected with Bruce Cole was through Ted, because Ted's deer lure, I manufacture Ted's deer lure with his name on it.
Oh, nice.
That's made by me, and I sell it, retail it, and Ted and I share in that. That's something that we have together. We have a couple products together. Actually, I'll be at his house. I don't know when this airs, but I'll be at Ted. Ted's actually right now. Um, Ted is. Let's see, what time is it? 9 o'clock right now.
Yeah, probably hunting
Ted is
some
Ted Nugent is playing his 7,000th concert. Think about it.
smokes.
He's playing his 7,000th concert tonight, and it's Stranglehold, which is probably one of the greatest and most known rock songs and rock riffs in the history of rock and roll, is 50 years old. Ted, I think, is 70. What's Ted? 76, 77, and that guy puts on one hell of a show, and I'll talk to him tomorrow to congratulate him on his 7,000th show tonight, and he's
7,000.
playing out in Michigan. And I'm gonna be he ends on Sunday with this little, it's not little, he's doing like 5 nights and 7 days, and I'm gonna be heading out to his house. I'm heading out there next Tuesday. I'll go hang out with him, we'll go over some stuff, take some pictures, and enjoy. I think he's taking me hunting. I think we're going pig hunting from what I hear, and I'll do a podcast from his man cave. But yeah, Ted is the reason why I got to meet, or got to know who Bruce Call was. And hearing you talk about South Dakota, it's cool.
Oh, yeah, hey, Bruce is a cool dude. I met him at it was, like, right after COVID when everything started opening up, and they had the first annual, Rushmore Rumble, which is just like it was a target shoot, and being locked up all, winter long, and then of course you got COVID. I was like, I don't do target archery, but I got to get out and shoot my bow. I got to do something. And when I was getting registered, I ended up meeting him and talking to him. And this was way before the dreaded archer or anything. I was just now getting into archery, and Bruce has done a lot for archery in the state of South Dakota. Like big ups to Bruce because he helped start the South Dakota Bow Hunter Association. He was one of the founding fathers in that. Then he runs the Easton Center there. He got his shop there. I mean, if
Mhm.
ain't too much archery goes to South Dakota without Bruce got his hands on it. So
Good. That's
big up
nice
to
to hear,
Bruce.
right?
Oh yeah, he dang good guy. I can't say nothing. Like, so I only met him one time, but he was good to me.
Good. That's cool. When I do hear his name mentioned, it's always a positive thing. So, I like to hear that. Anybody promoting hunting in general, anybody promoting hunting is, I'm excited to hear that. And anybody promoting bow hunting, I love it even more.
Oh yeah.
Because just to me, it's the greatest. The greatest way to get out there and up close and personal and hunt a deer. Amazing animals.
Oh, it is. I just like sitting in the blind and like I remember the first time I took my dad because my dad he's been a rifle hunter his whole life. He won't pick up no bow, but
Mhm.
he had already filled his tag, and we were sitting in the blind, and he was like, "You're not taking your rifle?" I'm like, "Nah, it's the middle of rifle season, but I'm over rifle hunting at this point." So I got my bow, and there's this doe, and she's 15 yards in front of the blind, and I'm getting ready to pull back on her. He's like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait! I wanna keep watching her." 'cause he had never been that close to a deer where he hear their footsteps, hear them chewing, you hear the weird little ticks and sounds they make, and he was just so, like, amazed by it. And then, he's like, "Ah, yeah, gonna let her have it," and get the deed. And he was like, "Dude, this is one of, like, the best experiences I had in my life, because I've never been that close to a deer." It's like, "Hey, I could smell her." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yes.
It was like, "This is what archery's all about." I was like, "Now you should get a bow." "No, I'm good on it." He's
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but it is something that the people who get into it, we just become addicted to it right away because it's amazing. I actually do. Yeah, I hunt out of blinds. Probably the least way of me getting a deer is out of a blind, but I do hunt out of a blind. Always have a blind set up somewhere, for different weather and different, especially when it gets cold. Love my ladder stands. I'll get up in a ladder. I'm done with climbers. I did the climber thing. I did the hang on thing. I just got tired of it. Maybe I got too old. I don't know. I mean, setting up a hang on is probably the easiest thing I've ever done, but I've had people get hurt out of them. But anyway, so I've never done the saddle thing, and I never will. I'm too big, too fat. I sweat too easy, so I'm not doing that. But I do a lot of ground hunting. I've had multiple surgeries. I've had 10 knee surgeries. Um, got hurt at work. Had reasons to be on crutches for actually quite a few years. My buddies all still hunted, so what we did is I got a bucket. We painted it camouflage. Inside that bucket went my backpack. My quiver got mounted to the outside of the bucket. I screwed in a quiver mount. I would carry my bow. I'd use one crutch, sometimes two. My buddies would carry my 5-gallon pail out. I'd find a hedgerow or whatever. They'd plop me down, and I just hunted that way. And I actually still do it. I kill a lot of deer from the ground. You got to play the wind right. You got to get vantage points. So I kill a lot of deer from the ground. I kill them from plastic buckets. I'll sometimes set up pallets, get old pallets, and set them up in different locations. Maybe up and down where I think the wind is generally whatever way it's going to blow. I'll set up a pallet blind, upwind, downwind. So if we get a north wind, I sit in one pallet. And if not, I'll sit in the other. I shoot deer from little tree seats that I this year the best buck I shot this year. I put a tree seat on a tree. I had a vision of where the deer were going to come. I saw the trail. I said, okay, they're probably going to come this way. I'll sit here. They did exactly the opposite, and I still killed a nice 9-pointer. He came in from behind me. Um, and that's what nothing in front of me. I'm in camo, sitting against a tree on a little hang-on tree seat, and I kill a lot of deer that way, and I love it. I love it. It's so cool, and sometimes you get busted, because they come right up to you and look at you. It's wild.
So, do you think, like, the hunters today underestimate the role of, like, the scent plays in hunting?
You mean like the attracting sense, like I have?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what happens is people try to use scent. I think most people use it incorrectly because there's a learning curve, and I'm guilty because I really started my podcast that I kind of do all interviews. The reason why I got into it was so I could do some how-to videos. So I am definitely going to be doing how-to videos. I think people use it incorrectly. So what's incorrectly? First of all, some guys will use scent and they'll be in a 12-foot ladder stand with no leaves and trees. So if the wind shifts and let's say the scent is in front of them, right? They set it up, they hang a scent wick at 20 yards, and all of a sudden, they a lot of people want to be downwind of the scent. So that way when the deer catches the scent wick, he's not smelling the person, right? Well, part of the problem is you're on a 12-foot ladder stand, so that's a problem. You're not very high. You're not really above much scent. So what happens is sometimes the wind will shift, and I think this happens more times than not. Sometimes the wind will shift, or a buck will just be coming through, let's just say, at random, or the wind shifts, and now hitting you in the face and going straight down behind you, and you're looking straight ahead, hoping the deer comes in, and the deer comes in from 100 yards behind you, works his way to 50, works his way to maybe 30 or 40, 40 or 30, whatever. And then all of a sudden you go like this. You're scratching your head. Now the buck's behind you. He catches movement. That deer will stand still like a statue for 20 minutes.
Yep.
stare at what he thought he saw move. And then all of a sudden you got a little twitch or something. You scratch your face because you're looking straight ahead. That
He got
buck turns around, he walks away quietly, either to never ever come back again, or if they do come back, they know exactly where to stop and they know exactly where to look at the last time they saw something moving in that tree. So they're actually not using the scent wrong, but what it is I think what happens is guys use scent and they go, damn, I didn't see shit. This stuff is horrible. And their buddy goes, no, no, it works. So they try it again. So they put out too much, too little, or they use extra scent at the wrong time of the year, or in a scrape, they put something that doesn't belong in a scrape. And when I say that, there's certain scents that you can't really put in a scrape because in nature, those additives that are in that bottle that you bought will never be in a scrape. They're not made to be in a scrape on the ground. So what happens is if a buck checks that at night, he may never come back because he knows something's weird. So
mhm,
by using the scents incorrectly or getting caught by a deer, which I think getting caught by a deer happens most of the time, then people just blame the scent. It's like fishing with a top water popper, and you didn't have luck. It might be one of the greatest lures in the world, but if you don't have confidence in it, you'll never use it again. And I think that's what makes people get away from using scent. And then a lot of times, 10, 15 years later, they'll hear somebody talking about a scrape or hanging up a scent wick or doing a drag or spraying it under your boot and being successful, and then they might try it again. So I think people need to get a little educated. It's not easy. I mean, you can go on YouTube, but a lot of the stuff you see on YouTube is ass backwards, and these guys they're showing you something and they're not really explaining it, and it makes it difficult. So I tell everybody, once you see scent work, Trey, if you get out of your truck and you got to walk across a cut cornfield and you're going to get 10 yards into a wood line and that's where you're going to hunt. If you're going to go do all of that anyway, you might as well get out of your truck, walk 40 or 50 yards, get into the cut cornfield, no scent on you. Get into the cut cornfield. Take a bottle of my scent out of your pocket. Spray it under one of your boots. Go 30 yards, spray it under your boot again, go 30 yards, loop into that wood lot that you're going to hunt in, and just loop a little wide. Get out in front of yourself and come back, climb up in your stand. What you just did there, you just gave yourself so many opportunities. If a deer happens to run behind you across that cornfield and they catch a sniff of that, if they're a hot buck and if they're after a hot doe, they're going to follow that in there. They're going to follow that deer like a bloodhound would. I'm sorry, follow that scent trail like a bloodhound would. They'll follow it all the way in, and if there's nothing there, they'll go away. But the chances are, if you're up in your ladder in your ground blind, you're going to see them, and you're going to go, "Damn, that deer came in right where I sprayed that shit."
right.
Once you see that happen one time, then you realize that there's a lot of factors that could screw it up, but that stuff works just like it's supposed to a lot of the time. Not 100%, but a lot of the time it works. Now, if that buck is running away from something from 100 yards away and he crosses your scent trail, he's not even gonna slow down. He's running.
Yeah.
But when you see it work, you will realize that scent has the ability to draw deer in. There's no doubt about it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a scent industry because the industry would have been gone a long time ago, but it's not because it takes people to try to use it. You got to try to use it, first of all. Then you got to try to use it correctly. And then you got to realize what you're watching happen. And you'll see that you can definitely get some really good reactions out of using scent properly.
So what is the proper way to use a scrape? Like, what's the proper way to use scent in a scrape?
So a scrape is relatively easy. I don't know the numbers, but I'm going to say a lot of guys never scrape hunted. So setting up scrapes is pretty easy to do, and it's very, very effective. So what is it effective for? Is it effective for killing big bucks during the rut? Mm, that actually may be a misnomer because during the rut, a lot of times once you're in full swing and those bucks are locking does down, the last thing they're really doing is going and hanging out in a scrape. They may go downwind of that scrape, but during the peak rut, the scrape activity usually drops off. So if a guy buys deer lure on Halloween and he builds a scrape on Halloween and he plans on killing a buck November 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th, and he doesn't, he may never build a scrape again. And that's the wrong process because if you have a scrape set up early and you have a camera on it where the camera's not going to spook the deer at the scrapes, you will be able to inventory your deer no different than if you're allowed to put a corn pile down.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you inventory them better, because what you do is once you build that scrape, the deer, the bucks and the does will visit that scrape because it's basically a calling card. They'll go in there, they'll leave their scent, they'll use the scrape, they'll use the licking branch, and they'll move on. You'll get pictures of them. You'll be able to inventory your deer. And what I said something before to you about scrapes during the rut is a crazy time of year. But when a buck is traveling out of his core area and he's cruising through, maybe he's crossing a couple farm fields and he's getting into a different piece of woods because he knows there's does in that area and he remembers a scrape that he saw there last year, he'll cruise by that scrape. He may not step in it, but if it's not thick, he may get 30, 40 yards downwind, sniff downwind of it. If he doesn't smell anything, he keeps going. If Trey happened to put a little of the right scent in there that day, he may get downwind and smell it. He may go, instead of 40 yards, he may come to 20. If it's really a thick area, he may come right up to it because he can't see it. If a
Right.
deer can see that there's nothing there, he's not really going to come to that scrape if he's just looking for does. He'll keep moving.
Yeah.
So the question was about building scrapes. What I would tell somebody is you got a couple options. You shouldn't put a scrape in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you can, but it's not a great idea. You got to put a scrape somewhere off of a travel corridor. Okay, it could be 10 yards, 20 yards off a travel corridor. If you're setting up a ground blind or a ladder stand or you're putting a hang on, you might as well have the scrape within shooting distance, fairly close to shooting distance from that ladder. And what you should really do is you got to find, you really need a nice piece of dirt. You got to have dirt under it. That sounds easy, but I've seen guys build scrapes on top of roots. There's just tons of roots. Just doesn't work well. So you find a nice tree, or you find a vine, or you add a rope. We sell ropes. You can hang a rope. You could use a real vine. You could go to your local hardware store. You could buy a bracket for about $4 that's made for hanging a flag in front of your house, and you could basically wrap that thing with camo tape or spray it black or brown, whatever you want, gray. Screw that thing to the tree. Usually, it has two spots to hang a flag on it. Go find yourself a fresh branch, cut it. You can wear gloves, you can wear rubber boots when you do all of this. Set yourself up a branch that's hanging between your chin and your belly button and try to get as little human scent there as possible. Clear out the dirt underneath, maybe you could start out with the size of a 5-gallon pail, maybe a foot diameter to get it started. And what you just created is a visual scrape. You got a branch, you got leaves on the ground, and you got a clear spot. People, you can see the dirt, the deer can see the dirt. Now, all you got to do, you could do it that same day if you were scent free, or you can let nature, get the human scent out of there. Now you add a little preorbital scent to the licking branch with either whatever way. Mine comes with a little eyedropper. Some people make a gel. People have a stick. What I sell it in an eyedropper because you don't have to physically touch anything. You
Right.
use an eyedropper, you drip preorbital on the licking branch, and then in the scrape below it, you'll either put a straight doe urine, or we have scrape blends which have buck and doe urine in it. If it's a spray, you'll pump about 5, 6 sprays in there. I make things called scrape nuggets that look like little rocks. You
Yeah, I saw
sprinkle
it on
them
your
in there.
website.
Yeah, you sprinkle them in there. You clear out of there. If you want to set up a camera, which I recommend, I personally put a camera 20 yards away because these cameras make noise, they click, they smell like wires or whatever. But set it up. Try not to go in there too much. Maybe go in every 2 weeks and freshen up the preorbital, freshen up the spray on the ground. You will see a tremendous amount of activity there, does and bucks. That's basically setting up a scrape. Um, I went through it really quick. You don't need a rake. I use my rubber boots. I clear it with my feet. I think the licking branches might be one of the most important things. I probably have 10 scrapes set up right now. I have multiple spots I hunt. Half of them are ropes, and the other half of them are branches that I actually stick in a bracket on the tree, like I said, from a flag bracket. They both work great. I tend to like the branches better because I think the deer like resistance.
Mhm.
The bucks like resistance, a little bit of resistance. So that's basically setting up a scrape. So Trey, if you have a ladder stand or ground blind in a spot that you have good access to, what I tell people is either set up one scrape or set up 2 scrapes. So if you're gonna hunt out of a ground blind or a ladder stand and you generally wanna look in a certain direction because that's the direction you feel is best for seeing the deer, what I do is I'll set up a scrape 30 yards to my right, 30 yards to my left will be another scrape, and straight out in front of me won't be a scrape, but that'll be a 20-yard shot. So those things are 30 yards on an angle each way. But if a deer walks from one scrape to the other scrape, he'll cross me at about 20 yards. Okay. That gives me a shot at him. And a lot of times a buck will check a scrape. And if he knows there's another scrape, he'll go straight across to it, usually with his head down because he's trying to pick up any scent. And
Right.
all you got to do is boom. That's I'm so successful with that. The second scrape in a line for me where they got to cross in front of me has shown me more success than just having one, because sometimes a buck will come in, hit that scrape, turn around, go right back to where he came from. So he may be far away from you, 30 yards, come around the tree, and you don't get a shot and he goes straight back. But by having that second scrape and creating a walking path for him where he has to go, a lot of times will give you opportunity. A lot more opportunity, I feel, than just one scrape. But if you're going to set up one scrape with a camera, and if you've never done it before, everybody listening to this, if you've never made a scrape before, go out and do it. And if you screw it up, who cares? Go out and try it. I'm telling you, scrape hunting's incredible. The reason why I said make it a 5-gallon bucket to start is because between Halloween and the first 2 days of November, it's going to look like the hood of a car. They are going to come in and go crazy clearing that out because they smell another deer there because you're putting scent there. Other deer are actually using it, and the bucks are getting pissed off that there's another buck in their territory,
Yeah.
and they're going to start to daylight. Okay, they're going to start to daylight because they want to beat that other buck to the scrape, and they want to meet a doe there. That's what they're hoping for. So now you walk in, and dude, your heart will drop when you go, oh, holy shit, that thing's 3 times as big. That scrape is huge. What the F did I miss? You go pull your camera card, you're gonna see bucks you've never seen before.
So, see,
Right.
I didn't know that that's what made it like, so they daylight to try to get to the scrape before that other buck gets there?
What'll usually happen, yeah, I mean, listen, every time that buck goes there at night, because we know a lot of deer move, we know when they move. A lot of times they'll move at night, especially if you're pressuring them. If he goes there at night, 3 different let's say in a week he goes there 3 times at night because he's a little spooky, he's not sure. He goes there 3 times at night. And between the second and the third time, you went in at 12 in the afternoon when you're pretty sure he's not moving around 'cause it's not rut, I'm talking pre-rut.
Yeah.
Um, you go in 12 in the afternoon, you reach over, you go on the ground, you put a little bit on the licking branch, you leave, right? He's been there twice already. He was there Monday and Tuesday. So now he's Friday night. He's going to check that scrape. He's going at 11 o'clock at night. You can't shoot him. He goes there and he smells it. He's like, that buck is thinking, damn, something's been here. There's something on the licking branch. There's something different on the ground. I've been here 3 nights in a row. I have to do something different. And that buck will daylight. He will daylight. Once they start daylighting at a scrape, if you're not putting pressure on him, he's going to daylight at that scrape fairly often. It might be right before, it might be at the beginning of shooting light or the end of shooting light. That's daylighting. As long as it's legal to shoot him, he's
Yeah.
not going to come prancing in every day at 11 o'clock. But during the rut, he will. During the rut, you're going to get the bucks that know that scrape is there that are cruising around. They're going to check that scrape. So if you got a travel corridor and it's a fairly thick piece of woods, that's the best because that deer has to get really close to put a visual on it. He's always going to circle downwind. They obviously always circle downwind. They're going to smell something because Trey put something on that scrape. And also, there's been does and bucks hitting that scrape. He's going to smell something. Now, if he's got to check it out by getting fairly close, you've increased your chances of getting a buck in that scrape. Where if you're in hardwoods that you could see 100 yards, that means the buck could see 200 yards.
Yeah.
So he could downwind it, look at it, and not come near you. So there's a lot of things that people do wrong. I've been to hunting properties where a guy told me I did everything you said, Steve, and it doesn't work. And I walked into a spot once. It was like I met this one I went to last year. I guess it was about 15 acres, small, a relatively small piece, but you can kill a buck in there. And I could see my car. I mean, I could see my white truck. I'm like, dude, if I could see my truck, you don't think that buck can see here? He's like, yeah, but I don't move. I know how to hunt. I said, yeah, but even if you're not moving, if that deer can check that scrape visually and he's a little spooked, why the hell would he walk into your 15 acres and get he doesn't. So you gotta really think, you gotta kinda think like a deer. You gotta think like a prey animal, an animal that could get killed by coyotes or, bears, humans, obviously, the only thing they're not scared of is cars, even though they kill them. But
Right.
you gotta think that way. And listen, let's face it, the thicker, nastier shit that you hunt in, the better chance you have of being really up close and personal with a deer. Now, during the rut, everything goes out the window.
Yep.
You could be wearing your street clothes. You could be sitting on a rock. You could be smoking a cigarette, relaxing, texting your buddy. And a but I've done it. I've killed deer. Not even almost didn't bring my bow because I was going there just to check a spot. And that's during the rut. Everything goes out the window. The tactics are different. It's more of a game of chance. It's more of how much time can I put in a tree. That's more of, to me, rut hunting, and it's awesome. We love watching bucks chasing does around, bucks pushing each other. It's awesome. Everybody's got to hunt the rut. I mean, how do you pass that up?
Exactly.
Your
And
tactics will pay off more before the rut and after the rut. And some people don't believe in a second rut, but there's definitely a second activity. There's definitely a third activity because bucks don't lose their antlers if they got testosterone running through their blood, and if the testosterone is running, they're hard horn and they are looking for does because the only reason that testosterone is up is because there are still does that are not bred. So you get your November breeding, you get your December your December. It's only 28 days, so it changes a little. So now you're at somewhere around December 5th, let's say, or 4th, and then you're at January 1st or 2nd. They're sniffing the deer, and a buck is going to be sniffing a doe. Those yearlings start to come into heat. They're going to be on them. So you got, I have a scrape all year long going. I use scent all year long, and I've killed bucks with their nose on my scent wicks in November, obviously, in December, without a doubt, in January, without a doubt. So they are still going to be on those hot scents as long as they got antlers and they still have the energy to breed.
so why is the second and third rut, why is that under so much debate? Because like I've heard some people say that, it there is no second rut. It's a myth. And then, and you just said that, there's a second and there's a third. With all this time, why haven't we like got a solid answer on this? Like there's definitely a
Well,
second and third rut.
I mean, I guess you got to go to biology and you got to go to science. You can't really go to maybe what we do is we take the word rut out because people want to believe in a rut. All right, sounds cool. It's all an awesome time of year. So I don't even know what people think the rut is. To me, the rut is breeding season, right? They're breeding. So if they're breeding in November and we call it the rut, and they're breeding in December, why not call it the rut? If they're breeding in January, why not call it the rut? So how do we know if they breed different times of years? Well, you could see it if you're lucky, right? If you're there, not you could see the deer chasing, you could see them breeding. We could also look at the birth rate. You look at
Right.
the birth date of these deer that are dropping when we're out there hunting turkey. I'll be in the woods in New Jersey in September, and I will see some deer, some fawns that are still have remnants of spots on them in September 9th this year. Every year it happens. So what does that mean? That means they didn't get bred in November. I mean, it's you go to biology, go to science. I mean, now if your buck to doe ratio is on the money and your bucks are breeding everything in their area that you're hunting, yeah, they might only have one rut technically because if there's no other does in heat and they're all giving birth at the same time, then yeah, the bucks might not have a reason. I bet you they're dropping their antlers a little sooner. Where in Jersey, we have bucks that don't drop their antlers until March, without a doubt. Not all of them, but we have it. Where when you're way off on your buck to doe ratio, you'll have pockets of heavy doe concentration. The bucks can't breed them. I think the scientists say the bucks will breed like five does during the November rut.
Yeah.
So if you got a spot 2 miles away that has a bunch of does and maybe the bucks aren't really breeding all of them, and those doe go into heat, those bucks are going to find them. So I don't know. I call it the rut because I've seen them breed in January and February. Um, you can call it whatever you want, or not. I shouldn't say February. I've seen it in November I've seen it in December. I've seen it in January. So they're still going to breed. If there's hot does and the buck's got the testosterone running, they'll mount the doe and they'll breed her. I mean, and that I can only talk about New Jersey, but I think if you look at biology, yeah, there's definitely more than one breeding time that they'll breed. I've had people say they'll breed all year, and I've never seen it, but I believe it.
Yeah.
If the doe would let them, which she won't, but there's definitely more than one cycle of breeding. There's no doubt about it. Unless every doe is bred. If every doe is bred, you're done.
Yeah.
So buck to doe ratio plays a huge part of it.
Yeah, like, when I first got into hunting, I was like, I was my buddy was telling me about it. I'm like, "So you trying to tell me there's only, like, a 2-week window where all the deer in the state, breeds?" He's like, "Yep, that's it." And I was like, "There's no other time. Nope, just those 2 weeks, you rut, and then you're done. They're done." And
Mm,
I was like, Man, if that was the case, the population of deer would be very, very small. It'd be very
sure.
small. And, you
Yeah,
just mentioned oh, what you gonna say?
no, you go ahead. My
Oh, yeah, and, like, my brother, he just got access to, a nice piece of property over in Arkansas, and, like, he's super excited because this is, like, his 3rd year hunting, and he's, like, wanna put food plots and all that. We did all that stuff, and I was like, "Hey, we gotta, like, start paying attention to the buck to doe ratio on his property." He's like, "Why does that matter?" And honestly, I couldn't tell him why it mattered. I just know, like, you want a good ratio between bucks and doe, and I didn't know exactly what the
yeah.
ratio was. But we put a bunch of cameras up on the property, and it's sitting at, like, right, like 120 acres, and like, I wanna say, like, the first 2 to 3 weeks, the cameras pictures we got back, I didn't see a buck. It was just, like, I think we put out, like, 15 cameras, and it was just, like, groups of doe, and I'm like, "Dude, this year, like, I know you wanna get a buck, but we gotta thin out some of these doe." And he was like, "Oh,
It's,
I don't think it'll matter, man." I'm like, "No," and we started doing our research and stuff, and he's like, "Yo, yeah, actually, it do matter.
yeah.
We gotta get a lot of these does off the property." But, a lot of my listeners are new to hunting, so, like, explain to them, why you want a good buck to doe ratio.
Well, I mean, probably there's a few reasons for it. Biologically, but for the hunter, what's the reason? Well, the reason really is if you have, I'll give you an example. If you, depending on where you're hunting, if you have a certain area that you're relegated to, so you have to hunt this farm because it's your family farm, that's all you really got, or whatever. If you let the doe number climb, there's a lot of reasons. Number one, I mean, the easiest thing is they can only survive there's only so much food for deer to survive. So
Right.
by thinning out the herd, so to speak, there's less mouths eating the same beans and corn, or if you're supplemental feeding, whatever. That's an easy one, but that's an easy one to understand, obviously. But for the hunter aspect, when you create the right buck to doe ratio, now the bucks have to move a little bit more. If a buck is living in a core area and he's got 30 does around him,
He ain't going nowhere.
they technically breed it in a few days they breed. Okay. So if he's got 30 does around him, and let's just say it's a 100-acre farm, there's 30 does on there. There's a couple of big bucks, a couple small bucks, right? The small bucks get no action. The big bucks kick their ass and push them away. If the big bucks don't really have to leave, and they could breed one, a couple days later, jump on another one, a couple days later, get on another one. Now they all go out of estrus, but there's 30 of them. So there are only a couple of them are bred. Maybe 3 are bred, maybe 2 are bred. Then 28 days later, of those 30 does, maybe 25 of them now go into heat. That buck doesn't have to go very far. He could breed another 1 or 2 or 3. So if there was a right buck to doe ratio and there was less does, and the bucks had to move a little bit. Now you create a lot more movement, and I think you see that more on big pieces of ag where people are hunting farms. They put up a set of binoculars. They can look way across at somebody else's farm, and they'll just see deer moving a lot more. It seems like the states that have the buck to doe ratio in line, they get a lot more movement of big bucks because the big bucks have to move to find the next doe in heat. and they're going to look for the doe that's going into heat before she's in heat.
Yeah.
So they're going to try to find her and pin her down in a patch of woods. But if they got so many does where their core areas, they really don't have to leave because ultimately nature just wants them to breed and make babies. That's the whole reason. So when you create a good buck to doe ratio, you create a lot of good, healthy reasons for the deer. You also create a lot more opportunity for the hunter because the deer have to move, the bucks have to move more. And ultimately, you need healthy deer. If you don't have healthy deer, things go bad. So healthy deer means you have to eliminate how many. You got to make sure there's enough food for the deer that you have on your property. So the health of the deer is always number one. But for the hunter and the new hunter, he wants to see deer move.
Yeah.
Um, you could shoot it. Listen, you could shoot a doe. I can only speak for myself. You could shoot a doe. You can clean it on your property, and you could get back up in that stand later in the afternoon, and you can have a buck walk 2 feet next to that gut pile, maybe not even look at it, and you could get a shot at it. So people talk about blowing up their property and all. I think the biggest thing that blows up a deer hunt is movement while you're hunting. I
Yep.
think they pick up, listen, scent is scent. Scent is paramount. Their nose is unbelievable. Bear's nose is even better. Um, but a buck picking up movement of you in a tree and you staying in that same tree stand for like, that's your spot that you go to, you could really ruin it. I mean, you can definitely ruin it. Where if you go into a spot and you hunt in the morning and you go back and hunt in the afternoon, but you have never hunted it at all that year, there's a good chance that the buck that comes by in the afternoon has no clue that you killed the deer. They don't even know you were there. By the time they smell that you were there, they're probably within range of you killing them.
Yep.
So, I'm not big for just letting the does go. I mean, if you don't need them, obviously you're not going to kill them. If I'm not eating them or somebody's eating them, I'm not just, nobody's killing an animal and not using it properly.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to clean some does out and give it to people that need it and want to eat it, do it. It really does help the hunt. It helps the health of the deer. The babies are born more at the right time instead of dropping these does that get dropped late, so now you have fawns that are dropped late. They got spots in them in September on them still. They still got some spots. The doe, the mama doe is not with the babies, which they usually are, but for whatever reason, somebody kills a mama doe. Now you got these two yearling, basically they're fawns. They're still carrying a couple spots. Those deer will walk aimlessly for the whole season because they lost their teacher, their mom, and eventually they become coyote bait. I mean, unless somebody shoots them, but they become coyote bait, and those deer normally don't make it through the winter anyway. So you might as well control the doe herd so that way you have healthier doe and bucks on your property. That's what I've been taught, and that's kind of what I adhere to.
Yeah, you said, I hope there are not people out here that's, just shooting doe and not doing nothing with them, like, I hope
Yeah,
not, 'cause, dude, like,
I hope not.
that's
Yeah,
one of the things, like, I told my brother, I'm like, "Hey, look," I got him in hunting, I was like, "We don't kill nothing that we not gonna eat. So if you don't
right.
plan on eating it, don't even, or you don't know anybody that's gonna eat it, go ahead and let it walk." But now, like,
Absolutely.
we got so many people around us that they just, like, they I like to say I'm a pretty good chef, and to me, the best way to introduce somebody to the outdoors or hunting is to, have them taste it and like, "Oh, man, I like that." Now we start the conversation. So I'm always
Yeah.
cooking, deer for people and stuff like that. And so now all my family and friends are like, "Hey, man, like, I need some deer. I want some deer." So my first thing is I try to get them to try to go out and get it themselves, but if they can't, then like, I got enough tags. I'll take one for you and bring it to you. But, I just love it, man. But,
Yeah.
man, Steve, this has been we've been cooking, man. We've been
I
cooking
know,
for
it's
an hour
cool.
and a half.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. Um,
We love hunting, and it's a great lifestyle. We love it. This platform, this podcast thing is great for this. And I love talking to people I've never met before. You're a great guy. So this is just easy conversation. I mean, you could do this for hours. I mean,
oh, yeah,
we
I looked
barely
up
scraped the
an hour and a
surface
half.
of anything.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But if you had to give a new hunter, you know, one advice regarding scent, what would that would help them immediately, what would that be?
Well, what I would say is if I was, what I would tell a new hunter is I would get basically what is called a curiosity scent. I have a curiosity scent. Pretty much every company has a curiosity scent. If there's something in your local store and you don't see the word curiosity, then get a basic doe scent if they can find that. And what I would do is I would start out with, for a new person, what I would say is the easiest thing to do is buy some scent wicks or make some scent wicks out of an old T-shirt or whatever, and start out simply by getting in the woods. You always got to be as scent free humanly as possible. Get in the woods, hang up a scent wick or two on a tree branch. Maybe 3-4 feet high. Maybe you're in a ladder stand or ground blind. Put it 20 yards in front of you, where whatever distance you feel comfortable shooting at. Um, and hang that scent wick up. Put a curiosity scent on. My brand is called Freezer Filler, is what I call my curiosity scent. The stuff I make for Nugent is called Gonzo Juice. That's his curiosity scent I make. A curiosity scent is basically like a deer herd scent where the deer will come into it. They're interested in it. It's not specific to the rut. It's not specific to a big bruiser buck because that could scare deer away at the wrong time of year. Get a curiosity scent, get a scent wick or two, hang it on a tree limb or put a little hook in the tree where you can hang it up. Either spray it on or take the top off, dip the scent wick in there, climb up in your tree or get in your ground blind, check the wind. Whatever way that wind is going down, whatever way is downwind of that scent wick, keep your eyes peeled. There's a good chance that you will see action downwind of that scent. So if you're in a ground blind and they can't see you, there's a good chance that deer's coming in. If you're in a nice high ladder stand, you're not moving, you got some cover, there's a good chance they're coming in. That's the best way to start out. A curiosity scent, it's a little better than doe urine. Doe urine is not bad. It's basically a curiosity scent, but a quality company like mine, people who make product like mine, they'll put some additives in there that'll really pique the interest of the deer. And if it brings those in, awesome, because behind those are bucks 90% of the
Mhm.
time. They might be at a distance, but they're there. Um, a lot of that stuff will bring a buck in as well. So I would buy a curiosity scent. I wouldn't buy it from a place that has 100 stores in the USA stocked with that product. I'd buy something. I use the word craft. I'd use a small batch company. You're going to be able to find it either online or whatever. Make sure it's fresh. Make sure it's from the year. Use a scent wick for now. When you're done hunting, take the scent wick out of the woods. So you bring a Ziploc bag with you when you're done, pick up a little stick off the ground, flip it into the Ziploc bag, seal it up, put it in your pocket, bring it home. The reason why you always bring the scent out is because if you leave scent in the tree or spray the bushes, what happens is you leave, a buck is cruising by, he smells it, he comes in, he checks it. There's nothing there. He sprayed a bush. He sprayed 50 pumps on a bush because you thought you were going to kill a monster. You see nothing. But a buck comes in at night. He smells it. Now, 3 days later, you come back in, you spray the bush 30 times. You climb up in your tree stand. You see nothing. You'll never buy that deer scent again. But what happens is that buck smells that scent 24 hours a day from downwind. Every time he checks it, there's nothing there. He's not going to keep coming back to that scent. So by you taking the scent out of the woods, next time you go back in, you set up the same way. You're creating a scent specifically for when you're hunting. That is a much better way of doing it. The only time I tell people is to spray a bush or a tree is if they're going in there one time a month or one time for the season. I have stands that I hunt one day a year. I have rut stands. I'll spray that shit on everything. If I don't kill anything, I'm gone. I'm not coming back for a year. But if you're going to go in and out, you really don't want to leave scent in the woods because you ruin the ability for a deer to be attracted to it. Because if he smells it or she smells it once or twice and checks it, there's no reason for him to come back in. So that's what I would tell a beginner. Get a curiosity scent, buy some scent wicks, put it up, check the wind so you know which way is downwind because that's where they're going to come from, and take the scent out when you're done hunting.
Man, I'm guilty of that because I leave my scent wicks, and now,
Yeah.
right? So now I
Trey,
know.
Trey, here's a trick. If you're going to leave a scent wick in the woods, you can't hunt it for a while, right? If you
Yeah.
put a scent wick, what I do a lot of times is I have spots that have scent wicks right now that have been there since last year. But if I'm going to leave a scent wick, that's because when I'm walking out of there, number one, I'm a little lazy. I don't take it with me. But number two is I'm not coming back for 3, 4 weeks. It rains, the scent is gone, and you go back in there and that scent wick is white, and for you could reuse it over and over and over because there's no bacteria, nothing. It gets washed out from the rain and it's dry piece of cotton or whatever material it is. But taking the scent wick out ups your advantage on the buck, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I didn't know this. But it makes sense though, because like you said, if you go in there, you leave the scent wick or you spray a bush, that eventually that buck is gonna be like, "Man, I've checked this thing several times, nothing came." So next time he smells it, he's gonna be like, "It ain't nothing, I'm on my way." So it only
Yep.
makes sense. Like, I'm glad you gave me that piece of information because I will
Yeah.
not be.
Trey, are you in a state that you could bait?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's another piece of advice, very, very similar to what I just told you with taking a scent wick out. So let's say you can bait, right? People always have in New Jersey, you can bait. Not everybody does because of the bears, but you can bait. So I tell people if you go out and you put corn out, let's just say you put straight corn out, right? You put straight corn out. Obviously, it smells. Once the deer know it's there, they're going to come there. People say, "But wow, why the hell would I use deer scent, if I already got them coming into the corn?" Fine. If you got the buck that you want to kill come into that corn pile in daylight when you're legally allowed to shoot them, don't use scent. Kill them. Kill them over a bait pile. If you could do that, God bless you.
Yeah.
But let's just say the buck doesn't want to come in because he knows that corn is sitting there 24 hours a day, right? He could eat at night. So he'll lay back, he'll nibble on some browse, he'll let the does go eat. The does leave. None of the does got shot at. Nobody came up and down a tree stand. It gets just outside of legal light. The buck walks in, he eats a little bit, he leaves. Now you go and use a scent wick one day where there's a corn pile. You don't put it right on top of the corn, but you hang it up in a tree 20, 30 yards in a different direction. That buck gets staged up because he knows the does are going to go to that corn. So he wants to watch his girls, right? So now he's 50, 60 yards away in the thick jet. He's not even paying attention to the does. He sees the does go to the bait pile. All of a sudden, he moves a little bit. He happens to get downwind of that scent wick that you hung up. Now his neck snaps because he smells something that is not the does. It's not the corn on the ground. So now his brain starts thinking, is there an intruder buck in there? Is there another deer there? Is there a doe I've never seen before? Is there a buck near my does? He's going to probably close the distance. And for the first time, you may see him at daylight. He might even come into bow range. So that's why you use scent, even if you're baiting. You use it when you are going to hunt that bait and you take it out with you. Very, very good tactic that a lot of people don't use. And if you're going to bait, and you want to buy some kind of food scent like corn or persimmon or whatever, you're baiting all the time. And what I tell people is if you go in there, put a little spray on the tree or next to the bait. That way, when the deer come in and eat that corn and they smell that the scent that you sprayed, whether it's corn or persimmon or fresh earth is a big time cover scent, the deer get comfortable because they smell that scent. They're eating. You don't shoot at them. They leave. So now the day that you go to hunt, you're not going to walk in with a bag of corn, throw it on the ground, and climb up in a tree. You don't want to make noise, but you can go in silently. You could take that same spray, whether it's a food scent or fresh earth, you could spray a little bit on the tree, climb up nice and quiet. The deer smell that. They associate it with a safe meal. They put their guard down and they come in and you shoot your doe. Maybe you shoot a buck. So those are three different ways of using scent that are really, really basic, but work.
Man, hey, Steve, you're dropping some gems tonight. You dropping some gems.
Yeah.
And Steve, I appreciate you taking time of the day to talk to me because I can keep talking for hours and hours
Yeah.
and hours. We definitely got to do this again. We'll do a part two. This will be my third
Anytime.
episode where we have to do a part two, but I definitely appreciate it. But before we get out of here, I got a question to actually ask all my
Sure.
guests. If someone called you today and said, Steve, you can go anywhere in the world and hunt any animal you want, all expenses paid, where you going and what you hunting?
Well, I am definitely at this point in my life, I'm still hunting whitetail. Probably where would I go? I would probably go to a really nice Midwestern spot because I've never been out further than Ohio to hunt a deer. I love Ohio, love Jersey, but I would like to get out to Illinois, Iowa would probably be my spot. I'd probably like to go to one, and it's not something I can't do now, but you just asked me like a wish list thing. I haven't done it yet, but yeah, I'd go Midwestern. I'd go whitetail. To me, there's a lot of really great animals to hunt all over the world. I'm still hung up on shooting whitetail. I mean, I love shooting turkey, love shooting whitetail, I like catching fish. But if you give me that opportunity, I'm going to go Midwestern to a class act location with some beautiful big bucks, and that's going to be that would be my dream.
You were the 3rd guy in a row. My last 3 shows, they said, the one guy said Indiana, and the other guy said Ohio. So, I'm like, "Man,
Yeah,
I gotta get to Ohio, and I got yeah, Ohio, and I gotta get to Indiana to hunt." Because
yeah.
Ohio, it seemed like every single year, some hiker or some hunter finds, like, a monster shed in Ohio, and it's like, people like, "Yeah, we never saw this deer." You know, it'll be
Oh
like
yeah.
a county, and they're like, "Yeah, we never saw this deer." And it's like, look at I mean,
Ohio has
her.
Ohio has great bucks. It really has. It has great bucks, and the genetics between Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. There's a lot of great genetics. The age class is key. The food is key. Minerals are a great thing. But mineral supplements are really good and they're great for inventorying your deer. But that feeding a deer through the winter to create less stress on their body helps create a healthier buck, and a healthier buck has a healthier rack without a doubt. So supplemental feeding or an area where a buck can eat without almost starving through the winter will give you a bigger rack on the buck than minerals in the spring. There's no doubt about it. But going back to Ohio has some fantastic, gigantic deer, and they could bait there, which gives people an opportunity. I mean, number one, like I just said, they could supplementally feed their bucks through the winter and keep them healthy. I know outfitters that spend a fortune from after gun season because a lot of those Ohio outfitters won't even let you shoot them with a gun. They usually end it with the bow.
Mm.
Some will let you do muzzleloader. I believe it's in January, but they'll supplemental feed their deer because that's their business and they want to keep them healthy. So I think that's why Ohio really has some fantastic deer because these guys have these big giant. I mean, there's 160s, 70s, 80s, and bigger out there. There's no doubt about it. Um, they take care of their deer, they feed their deer, those guys, and they keep them growing, and they shoot 1 buck a year. So you got age class, and the guy that lives there is not going to go to the hardware store with a 110-inch buck in his truck in October. His
Nope.
buddies are going to go, dude, what are you doing, man? There's 140s walking all over your property, and we didn't even hit the rut yet. So you get age class, you got healthy deer because there's baiting allowed. You could be anti-baiting all you want. This year at a farm I hunt with these guys, I told them I'm paying for the bait after the season closes, which is January 31st in this particular zone. I fed the deer protein, minimal carbs, minimal corn. I fed them protein and alfalfa. I guess they call it third cut alfalfa.
Mhm.
And actually, I'm drawing a blank which one was better. I think it's the late cut alfalfa, but it's the stuff they're feeding the quality animals. And I would mix it, and those deer would eat that like crazy, and I fed them all through. So now we'll see if it paid off. But the deer did not starve. I was feeding them twice a week. It's a lot of work. So states that you can bait, that's one of the big advantages of it. You can keep a healthy deer herd.
Now, see, I've always been told that, like, the big mature bucks, they rarely come into a bait pile, like, during the day. Like, it's rare because 'cause I'm like, my buddy Alex, he lives over in Arkansas. He's had this monster buck, and it's like the last, like, 3 or 4 years, he'll get he'll no nighttime pictures of this deer eating his corn, and then, like, in the daytime, like, when he's in his stand, like, he won't see the deer, and then he'll get out, and maybe 10, 15 minutes after he gets out of the stand, boom, the buck's at the feeder. He's eating, and
Yeah.
he's like I was like, "Dude, I've always heard that they just won't come into a feeder during, like, during the hunt season." So is that because, like,
Yeah.
maybe, like, pressure or maybe he's been spooked before at a stand and only feeds at night? I mean,
Yeah.
it
I
could be
mean,
a ton of things, but what's your opinion on it?
there's a lot of factors with feeders. I mean, there's some places that there's some places that only let you hunt. Some of these outfitters will have feeders, some don't. The thing that what I use, I'll use a gravity type feeder. If you pressure deer, I don't care if you have natural, I don't care if you have food plots, if you have turnips, you have natural stuff, or you have bait on the ground, or you have feeders. If you're over pressuring it, or if they catch you coming and going, I mean, your opportunities drop off tremendously. But I have spots where I have like a $99 metal feeder that is gravity fed. There's no noise, there's no motor, no nothing. Uh, I fill it up, it depends. During the hunting season, I'll try to fill it maybe once a week. Because even when you run out of food, when those feeders run out of food, the deer will still come and check, and the bucks will lay back once the food is gone. The does will do a look around, and the bucks get antsy because especially if they can't see them. If you got like a corral with a nice high thick shit around it, that the bucks have to get in close to watch them does because they want to make sure no other deer's near them does. That's their does. So I would say a feeder without a motor to me works a little better. The problem is people get used to dropping the corn at a certain time and bringing the deer in. I mean, I've killed deer over feeders. I don't use a lot of feeders because where I live, it attracts the bears,
Yeah.
attracts squirrels. Squirrels attract coyotes. Coyotes leave scent, they lay back. It keeps the bucks out of here a little more. So I think that feeders, I think mineral blocks are good because they're more of an inventory tool and an attractant. They like to lick them and all, and it's not really something that attracts the bears or the squirrels or the coyotes. But I would say if you're going to use a feeder, I use a gravity type feeder, whether I make it out of a PVC tube or whatever. And if you throw bait on the ground, you got to remember that deer can eat it 24/7. So if he smells human scent there, or if he sees you coming and going once or twice and you create pressure, why the hell would he eat during the day? He might as well eat at night. Nobody's bothering him at night. I have guys that are really good, big buck hunters in New Jersey. They bait they put bait out at between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning is when they drag their shit in the woods with a plastic sled, make all kinds of noise, and they bait them in the middle of the night, and they've been successful every year. So they create a pattern that does not have them in the woods during the day. So that's a lot of dedication. And I know a guy that goes in the woods 2 miles. He walks 2 miles in the dark at night to bait his deer throughout the season. He kills a stud every year on public land because he does that.
That's some dedication right there. 2 miles.
Yes, it is that not me. I'm not doing it. That's
See, I'm not doing
dedication.
it. I'll walk 2 miles, but I'm not walking 2 miles in the dark. I can't, like I just started being able to stay in my stand till it gets dark, like, 2 years ago. Like, I used to and I knew it was blowing my hunts because there was several times where it's like, "Ooh, it's getting sun going down, time for me to get out," and I just climb
Yeah.
down, get 10, 15 yards down the
Well
trail. Nice buck.
well, Trey, I think me and everybody else can anybody who's been hunting for a while, and you're learning this now. Those first couple minutes of legal light in the morning and those last few minutes, and I mean last 3 minutes of legal light is when I've killed most of my deer beside the rut.
It's that
That's
golden
when they're
hour.
most comfortable. That's when they're moving. The problem is you gotta climb down. So if that buck's coming in and it's now not legal light and you're gonna get out of your stand because 'cause you're following the rules, once they catch you once or twice, so, we could get into a whole debate on lights. Do you come down with a white light on? Do you come down with a red light on? Do you come down with no light on? We won't even get into that now because 'cause we'll be talking till midnight. I don't
Yeah,
even know what time it is. It's 10. We'll talk till
yeah.
midnight. But we could get on again. Will you Trey, do you get comments under your videos?
No, but people like when I do like the clips, people comment on the clips and then they eat like people message me, inbox me on Instagram and TikTok all the time. Like my inbox is full.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm no expert. I'm an expert at nothing. I'm actually close to an expert at eating food. I love eating, but I'm not an expert. But if people comment to you that they would like me to come back on here and talk about something in the hunting world or scent world or whatever, I'd be more than happy to do it. I could give you more information on whatever I have in my brain. It's just, I've been hunting for many, many years. I've learned The most important thing is try to learn from your elders.
Yep.
Your elders that have experience can teach you a ton. They might even teach you what's wrong, and they don't even realize they're doing it wrong. But you got to always be learning, and you got to support your mom and pop shops, because those mom and pops that work there every day and don't get to hunt, they gather so much information from the people around them that come and go. They're patrons. It's incredible. I've learned more from my customers than I've learned by myself. So learn from those around you to have more experience. Definitely listen to the older people. They're a lot wiser than we all think. And definitely support your local shops and pick their brain a little bit. Those are where you gather information. But I'd be glad to come back on here anytime and talk with you.
Oh yeah, and we definitely got to do this again. Next week I'll be in Colorado elk hunting. So like probably
Good for you.
a week or so after that, we'll definitely got to do this again because I got notes and I got we didn't get a quarter of the way through, so we definitely got to do this again. And I know the listeners are gonna love this show. They definitely gonna love it.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Yeah,
Steve,
we'll go over some drags, proper ways to use drags. Big one, like I talked to you about going across a cornfield. We'll talk about drags. We'll talk about ways of storing scent so it doesn't go bad. I'll talk about ways of checking to make sure you're getting a good product. There's a lot of stuff we can go over. It's fun. I love this stuff.
oh yeah, we definitely got to do it again. But before we get out of here, let all the dreaded listeners know where they can find you on social media and your website.
Okay. I have my Facebook and my Instagram. Instagram is the best because Instagram has the most stuff on there. My Facebook is not as great or as good with the updates. So Facebook, Instagram, and my website are all Signal 11 Lures. So it's Signal, the number 11, the word Lures, LURES.com is my website. My social media is Signal 11 Lures. So those pages will get you Instagram, Facebook, my website will get you on there. You'll see the Ted Nugent products on there. All the stuff I make is on there, and my phone number's on there if anybody wants to order something, has a question. Every day, every single day, I'm making deer lore. Every single day, I fill the orders every morning. They get shipped out every day, whether you need synthetic, natural, bear attractants, turkey calls, grunt calls. I make saltwater baits, I make fishing scents, I make all kinds of stuff. Check out Signal 11 Lures and comment, ask questions to me or Trey. We'll get you answered and we can get your products in the mail ASAP.
Hey, that's it right there. And do you have any last words for the people before we get out of here?
The last words for the people are drag somebody else into the sport of hunting. However you got to do it. Don't, it's not always a little kid that you got to drag out there to hunt. There might be a 25, 35, 45, or 50-year-old guy that's never hunted. Get them out there. Let them see what it's about. Let them hunt with you. Let them hang out with you. Show them. Just take them for a walk in the woods. Show them what the deer sign looks like. We got to keep this sport alive. We got to keep it growing. Wear camo whenever possible because people make fun of people who buy a Bass Pro hat and wear it just for the heck of it. I don't. If you're supporting anything outdoor lifestyle, God bless you. That's what it's all about. So introduce the sport. Just introduce the lifestyle to somebody this year.
Yes, sir. And with all that being said, this has been another exciting episode of the Dreaded Archer podcast. I'm your host, Trey, with special guest, Steve Ciasullo of Signal 11 Lures, and we are out.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to thank our supporters and sponsors. Signal 11 Lures, Lip Glue, New Jersey Multi-Species Podcast, Sever Broadheads, Jersey Fluke Bellies, Favorite Fishing Rods, Timberlife Outdoors, and Buck Knives. If you enjoy the content on our podcast, please like and subscribe and turn on notifications. And please tune back in for our next episode. Thank you.